6:30, I call the meeting to order. First order of business is public comment. If you have a comment that you'd like to make, please come to the podium, state your name and address, address your comments to the board and not to the audience, and you have 3 minutes. Nope. Next up, Dr. Morse, the Oyster River Superintendent. Welcome.
Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to the select board. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on the middle school, proposed new middle school project. I plan on doing this 3 times this year. In November when I come, I should have a guaranteed maximum price for the project. But for right now, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on where we are in terms of transitioning from concept drawings into architectural renderings. So the chief has alluded, I brought my own van tonight, so Todd is going to...
Which would you like to hold first?
You can turn it towards the audience. I won't go through the whole PowerPoint because the justification for the new middle school is really one based on age. The new middle school would replace an aging building that is actually 83 years old this year, and has been added onto 4 different times. And each time with best intent, and each time it met a district need. This is a building that has actually served the district extremely well. It's been an elementary school, and it's been a high school, and it's also been the current middle school. But like with any building that gets along in age, each addition added new complications, and the older sections become harder to repair. An example of that, I think I gave you at the last meeting, where I had to pay $7,500 for a customized part for the HVAC system, which in the middle school or the Massway school would have cost about, in the 2 elementary schools and the high school would have cost about $350. Some of the pictures that you see in front of you that the audience doesn't see is some of the aging cast iron piping that is original. And for many of us who've been around as long as I have at this point, cast iron piping also degrades from the inside, and the passage, the hole that originally was there for water becomes a pinhole, and over time degrades even further. So when you think about the infrastructure of this building, you're talking about literally millions of dollars to repair it, replace it. We actually had a company come in a couple of years ago, and they simply said it's not worth your taxpayers' money to invest in repairing the insides of this building because it would be a never-ending journey. They, at that point, gave us a $6.5 million cost just to replace the HVAC, not counting other aspects of the building. So I don't want to stand here and tell you that it's been a terrible building. It's actually been a wonderful building, but it has really lived its useful life. And one more addition onto it would just be an incredible waste of taxpayer money. And rather than do that, the board decided that it was time to promote the idea of replacing it. So the current site, and you have that, Todd, the site thing, takes the new middle school and builds it on the current middle school's ball field, and takes the current ball field, the current middle school, and turns it into a ball field. We've just been simply switched the 2 spots. By staying in its current location, the district saves $3 million. So we looked at, and Scott was part of the committee, looking at relocating, and the cost of relocating and finding appropriate size land and so forth would have added about $3 million to the project. So the goals for this building were obviously to make sure we're meeting the academic needs of the district, but also to build a building that's sustainable, and sustainable meaning that we would lower the fossil footprint of the building by going with a geothermal system, which allows the earth to heat the building in the wintertime and cool it in the summertime. So geothermal really is a terrific way to go if we're trying to cut down on the use of fossil fuel. We envision that the roof would have solar panels, and that will help on generating hot water. We envision solar panels on the property in addition to the roof. That's still being determined. So sustainability was another major issue. A third major issue was safety. So as many of you who have been parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles have seen when students are coming and going from the current middle school, the traffic pattern and the way that cars mingle with the children is incredibly dangerous. The safety issues in the school in terms of ADA compliance also become kind of an onerous barrier. We have a youngster, for example, who simply, say, breaks a leg and has to get from one end of the building to the other, from top to bottom. He has to take two different elevators and about 4 different stairwells to get from point A to point B. If we have a youngster who's in a wheelchair because of disability, then that youngster has quite a journey to get from point A to point B. So accessibility is an issue. So finally, it's just wellness. You know, the ventilation in the building's old. Fresh air is always nice, especially in days like today when it was muggy and kind of hot. Our current building, when it's muggy and hot, is really muggy and really hot because it picks up the morning sun on one side and bakes the kids, and on the other side in the afternoon, it bakes those kids. So the building, you know, as we're envisioning it, would be energy efficient. It would meet all of our academic needs. It would save us money by staying in place. And then finally, in terms of financing, we envision that the building will be a $49 million building at this point, and we'll know for sure in November. But unlike the projects that surround us in Newmarket and Dover, the school board made a decision actually this past board meeting that they were going to build up the capacity to do the bond over a 5-year period. So rather than just passing a bond overnight and then seeing all of our taxes go up 6 or 7% overnight, just based on the bond, the way the board is approaching it is building the capacity over 5 years, so the impact in any given year of the new middle school is about 1% of the bonding amount. So by the time we get to the 6th year, the bond is built into the budget, and the capacity to pay has been built into the budget. So the board has been very thoughtful in terms of meeting the academic needs of the students, but also very thoughtful in terms of how the district could afford such a building. So what's different between now and 1998 or 9 when the high school was built is there is no state aid. So this building is entirely on the local taxpayer, and that's why the board has been incredibly sensitive as to how to promote the bond. So that's where we are tonight. I think that the 4-story building that Todd held up at first and using the current footprint really is the best route to go, the most efficient route to go. And that's my presentation, and I'd be glad to answer questions.
Thank you.
And by the way, when they attended the Lee Day, that was great. We had a lot of action at the booth, and Scott made sure he came back around to harass me because I tend to harass him. So.
And a question, you'll be building the new building while the students will be in the old building.
Correct.
How are you going to mitigate the noises and issues?
So, you know, we won't completely mitigate noise and issues, but what we will be able to do is keep the kids in the current school. There's no other way to really accomplish the task of building a new school. There's no new location that we could put 660 kids while we're building a new school. So, you know, I'm anticipating that my faculty and staff will use the building of the new school as a teaching tool. I see them actually, the construction manager of the job has already done overtures to the staff about using the building as a teaching tool. So I suspect that even though it will be a distraction, I think it can also be turned into a benefit, if you will. Still noisy, but how do we use the building of a new school to teach kids? So that's what I see happening, John.
Thank you.
Anything else, questions?
No.
Any questions from the audience?
we'll continue to paint our buses yellow, because Tommy insists on that.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is it, if you collect all 6, you get something, or is this like?
For you, Scott, yes.
For you, Scott.
So what's the idea, to send these out, or what is this, just?
To use and, you know, to leave behind so people know that the vote is March of 2020.
Okay.
You know, it does require 60% of the 3 towns in total to approve. And the cards really speak to the issue of accessibility, cost, talk about academic program and so forth. So I can leave some of these cards back for people in the audience if you'd like to grab them on your way out. So.
I think that's, and when will you be able to come and provide for us, maybe not next time, but the time afterward, more of a breakdown? You said you're gonna slowly infuse this in over a 5-year period.
Yeah,
I
so
understand what you're talking about, so if you could give the citizens of the town of Lee and the other towns, you know, an idea of the impact. I think they understand what you're saying, but it'd be nice to have some figures.
And I'll make
We won't
sure
hold
that-
you to it, but.
yeah, I'll make sure that's the focus of the November
Okay.
presentation, because by then I'll have the guaranteed maximum. I know how the school board wants to finance it, so I can get much more detailed. It's been a little bit frustrating for me, John, because I'd want to get to that earlier. But we are working with a construction manager, and the advantage of that is once he gives us a number, that's a locked and loaded number. So if somebody comes in later and says, oh, we need to add this, that, or the other thing, can't happen. You've got a guaranteed price. And that's how we're protecting the taxpayer as well, because if you don't have a guaranteed maximum price, construction projects tend to creep. And, you know, when we get into this, I want to be able to face the taxpayers and say, here's the impact.
Exactly, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Can I ask you a question, different subject?
Scott? Yeah.
Educational funding, they still haven't passed the budget as far as I know, so what is it looking like from, I guess, your side? I don't know if this is a question for Sue, or maybe you can handle it. or-
Sue is welcome to come up, but we're both in the conjecture stage. You know, the legislature and the governor haven't come to grips yet, and eventually, you know, all things being equal, they will. It won't be what the legislature proposed, but it won't be what the governor proposed, most likely. The governor already made a counter proposal that was what I would consider a lowball offer. So, I mean, they're in dialogue, and, you know, so I've been in, this is my 32nd year as a superintendent, and legislatures and governors do this stance so often that eventually I know they'll come to some resolution. I have no idea what it would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you want to tell them what I'm congratulating you for, but.
I wouldn't have brought it up, but since Scott did. At the beginning of my superintendency 30-plus years ago, a town really kind of the size of Lee was providing the education for Loring Air Force Base up in Limestone, Maine. And President Herbert Walker Bush, the father, decided to close the Air Force Base. And as a result of that, the school was going to lose 1,350 of its students out of 1,550, to kind of give you a perspective. And so the town, again, about the size of Lee, put up $1 million and convinced the federal government and the state government to pass a math science school in northern Maine. It's the only one of its type in the state of Maine. It's a residential public high school, and it was just ranked #2 in the country. So that was the beginning of my time as a superintendent. Thank you, Scott.
I'll expect the bribe later on.
I will. Gotcha.
Item number 4, Chief Bronsfield.
Good evening. We have 2 items tonight. The first is looking at our cruisers. We currently have 2 2012 Dodge Chargers. One is a car that we just use for details. It has 160,000 miles on it. The other is my take-home vehicle, which has 150,000 on it. Both getting very worn out. I think we've squeezed all the life out of them that we can. They're not worth putting any more money into. in order to get it back out of it. Both still have the original transmissions, rear ends, a lot of the original park stuff. We don't have a command vehicle, something where we can put maps of the schools, market basket, things like that, traffic control devices into. So after looking at Chief Nemet's vehicle, it's a good vehicle for that purpose. So I put some numbers together on what the vehicle cost, what it would cost to outfit it. And I planned originally doing a warrant article, and after speaking with Julie and Joanne, turns out there's more than enough money in the special duty line item to purchase the vehicle from. And as you know, that's the line item that when officers do details, the admin fees, how much we charge for a cruiser, just keeps accumulating. So the total cost of the vehicle is $57,651.70. That's a 2020 Chevy Tahoe, four-wheel drive, tow hitch for the message board and the radar trailer that we have, and all of the emergency equipment, radios, everything done.
Questions?
How much is in the fund?
Well, there's a lot more in it than, I mean, there could be 250 or 280,000 in it, but money is owed back to the general fund.
Mhm.
So there's at least $100,000, give or take.
So we got plenty of breathing space is what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like it's, I mean, it keeps adding
Yes.
as we keep doing details.
You keep doing details and that's too at this point. We're just gonna sell the old ones, is that it?
Yeah, what I'll do is the current detail car
Mhm.
with high mileage, we'll just auction that off, turn my car into the detail car. We'll get another year out of that. And then next year in July, the budget passes, when we get our new cruiser, then one of the vehicles we have now, probably one of the 2016s, will become the detail car. The other 12 will be gone, and then we'll be in a much better
A
position.
better position.
Chief, I'm sorry, Chief, a couple of things. One, we're calling it a command vehicle. Its main purpose is for interoperability, for communications, et cetera, with other entities also, in
Correct.
case there is a
Yeah, we can
significant
operate from,
emergency. or
for us, it would be a
significant-
center
Yeah.
of command, a command post.
Right.
You put the hatch up on the back, put a pop-up tent over it, and work from there with maps of the school and maps of wherever we're working, market basket, wherever it may be.
Yeah,
Um,
my only concern is that we're sure it's configured for the future. That, you know, most command vehicles have some sort of feature for ballistic resistance, have some run flat tires, whatever. So I just want to be sure we're looking ahead and making sure from a communication point of view, et cetera,
Right.
we're gonna be there, we're gonna meet.
Correct. So for us, in New Hampshire, your command vehicle is the furthest from the incident. So you don't run that risk of needing the armor, the run flat tires. It shows up, it posts outside of the incident to be able to control and not be within the incident that's happening. Like if you go to a fire scene, you'll see all the engines and the tankers, your frontline vehicles, and then the command vehicles back here orchestrating everything.
Okay.
And, you know, for the mileage that I put on it, I see this vehicle lasting easily 10 years. And, you know, we have a bad storm or something like that, I can leave it here, and the troops can use it. If we get a blizzard or some, you know, event like that.
Okay, we've talked about this before in terms of, because both the fire and the police duties go into this fund, correct? So what percentage is fire and what percentage is police? Because as far as I remember, last time we had this, you guys seem to use it all the time. The fire department doesn't seem to use it that much in terms of taking money out of it. So I don't know if anybody can talk to me about,
Trying to cause a fight?
Oh,
I'm trying to see.
We've discussed this already, so there's no.
I just listened to him.
see,
No, the portions that we put in is a lot less than what they put in. They're doing
Understand.
details all the time. We recently just outfitted all the firefighters with track safety apparel.
Mhm.
So everybody's got jackets, pants. We spent, I don't know, a couple $1,000s out of that line this year. So
Okay.
we're using it more now. But just like then, our rates went up as well, so we're putting more money in there.
Okay.
I don't know what the difference is between the two, but they're
Okay.
putting a lot more money in than we are.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure, because the police department's used it numerous times, and the fire department doesn't use it that much, so you guys
It's-
both put in money, so
We will now.
Right, yeah.
you will now? But
I
you
mean,
always
it's-
listen to
it's-
him, so.
It's always been there for them to use if they wanted to.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, maybe the fire department needs to think about what other things they can maybe get from that fund.
But until recently, that fund and
Right.
with other companies paying the town back,
Mhm.
there was a little bit,
Lag.
there was lag with that. So we had to keep more money in there. Now bills are getting paid a lot faster.
Okay.
You know, the rates went up, so things are, that fund hasn't been that great
Okay.
in past years.
So what I'm hearing, you're in full communication with each other, and
Absolutely.
you're making decisions, and that's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd rather have it that way, you're talking ahead of time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Can you, one question I had, in terms of the 21,000, so what does that include? We've talked about a few things, but the 21, the
The outfitting.
equipment, cost to equip, what's in that 21,9270?
I don't think it was like, well, so that's everything from soup to nuts, because it's a Chevy Tahoe, it's not a vehicle that we've ever had before, so nothing from any of the vehicles will fit it. And actually, the cruiser we use now for a detail car is stripped right down, and only has lights and a siren in it, doesn't even have a radio in it, they use it portable. So that is all your emergency lighting, siren, radio, controller, what they call a truck vault, which has the drawers in the back to put the maps in, and weapon systems, things like that. Lettered, a turnkey vehicle, radar unit, everything except for a camera system.
Good.
Good. All set? I move to authorize the expenditure of $57,651.70 from the Public Safety Special Duty Revolving Fund for the purchase of a 2020 Chevy Tahoe to serve as a police command vehicle. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The second item is, I've discussed with the board before, Chief Nemeth and I have the phone systems here and the safety complex are no longer supported. We bought all the parts that we could off of eBay and Amazon. So we got a quote to upgrade the phone systems, add a few phones. One would be in the public, the non-public room. We got a quote on it, and then we applied for a grant by tying the EOC into the program. We were able to get a grant through Homeland Security for 50%. And so what we're looking to do is to pay 50% out of the special duty line item. When the check comes back from the grant, it'll go right back into that account. And then the other 50% is gonna be split between the fire department, the police department, I said fire department first, and the EOC.
Is this system expandable?
It is
So you could potentially use it for other entities or just this?
just within the building.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Move to approve paying Stimuli Sight and Sound $130.46 and Intel Choice Communications LLC $3,890.50 from the Public Safety Special Duty Revolving Fund. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Nevitt.
No, blame you. Looking at the holiday policy. And now that we have 2 full-time firefighters, and speaking with them, we are requesting to change the fire department holiday pay to match the police department's current policy for those 2 full-time firefighters. So currently, there's a check that they would get in November for 6 holidays, 6. And then in June, they get another one for the other 4 holidays. So both firefighters would just get those 2 holiday pays. It would keep the payroll a little bit simpler. Currently with their new schedule, we call it the Kelly system. It's kind of a common fire department term for that schedule that they're on. It's a weird rotating shift schedule, so you just don't know who's gonna work the holidays, but both of them currently work holidays throughout the year.
This is identical to the police?
Correct. Yeah, the policy change just would say,
Good.
you just change it from sworn police officer to
I
sworn
think
police
that's the
officer
key
to
issue.
firefighter.
It definitely needs to be the same.
This doesn't affect any other employees besides those 2 departments?
Mhm. It's
So
just
nobody
police
else
and fire.
works regular holidays?
Well, if they work holidays, they come under a different policy,
Okay.
but this is additional pay,
And this is just the hourly people?
full-time.
The full-time.
Hourly people, so similar, for
So
instance,
it
the
doesn't
chiefs?
cover the 2
No.
chiefs.
Okay. Any questions for?
You know, I think it's fair and it's reasonable at this
Yeah,
point.
it's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
I move to grant the fire chief's request to amend the personnel policies to add full-time firefighters to the holiday pay language to mirror the policy that currently covers full-time police officers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Well, Julie, you'll update the policy
Mhm.
as printed here, the red lines and stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Item number 6, me. Me. Can I ask Karen to come up and talk to us about my request?
Sure,
And/or Bill? I mean,
I can do it. So, at the request of the last selectmen's meeting, myself, Steve Bullock, Julie Glover, and Captain Bill Hum walked the thought of the right-of-way through Lily Hill Road down into the park. Although it's a great idea, it does not seem that it's feasible for many reasons. One, there's a conservation easement on the Mills property, which is roughly halfway up the trail. And the conservation easement doesn't allow for a roadway. So then there's the question of, does the right-of-way supersede the easement? We don't know, that would be illegal. Legal would have to look into that. And let's say that it does, once you get off the right-of-way into Little River Park, you can't park on easement land, that's clear in the easement. So you'd only be cutting through to the parking lot. And then creating a road, it would start by having to remove a lot of big pine trees, not that that's not a problem, not that that's a problem. And then it would involve some type of guardrail along, because it's quite a steep drop off. And then it would involve a crossing of a wetland, diverting a culvert and a crossing of a wetland. Then it would involve some widening, a lot of widening and a lot more tree cutting. So it just doesn't seem like it's cost effective although it's a great idea, it doesn't seem like it's something, it seems like it would be a lot of work and a lot of money, even if it was allowed after legal review of the easement. So it doesn't seem, the group consensus was that that's not something that's feasible to do. So that leads us to another subject of expanding the parking lot. As far as Fair Day, we have a solution for the problem on Fair Day, and that is to close the gate at, let's say, 9 o'clock. So everybody has to be set up for their booth by 9 o'clock, and they have to stay all day, just like the contract says, and park their cars out back, allowing more people spaces, more customers, shall we say, that are coming to the fair, because the parking lot only has 53 spaces. And we already discussed at the fair meeting and internally that there'll be no more parking, like by the kitchen area, there's like 6, 8 cars that stay there all day. No, no more. We're going to get a refrigerator unit for the day of the fair, for the few days before. We're turning the EDC trailer into a temporary refrigerator unit. So all the food after it's cooked on Thursday will go in that trailer, it'll go to the park and it'll stay there. There'll be 1 or 2 designated spots in the parking lot for people who have to go out and shuffle, go out and get things. And Rosencrantz are gonna donate some gators for the day, so people can shuffle around if they need to on the gator. But once the gate's closed, the gate is closed. No more coming in and out throughout the day. It'll be open at certain times and that's it. But we would like to look into expanding the parking lot. And I talked at great length with Ann Tappan as a citizen, not as she was clear that she was not representing the Conservation Commission, she was representing us as a citizen. She had a great point, we should get a committee together and find out from Oyster River how many spaces are needed and look into our different options of expanding the parking lot. Not just for the fair, but for everyday use, because I don't know if you guys have driven by there when there's events going on, that parking lot's packed and they're parking along the road. So, but I would just like your blessing to go forward to look into expanding the parking lot.
Can I ask another question? I was totally disappointed that it wasn't possible. But in terms of expanding the parking lot, because we talked about possibly going north from the current parking lot, possibly going south or a combination. If we were to go north, is it possible to put in an access road that goes up and matches up with the other road so that the one that's by where all the booths are closed off, but you can have another road into it on the side? So like, kind of where the porta potties are, but then going straight back, if we cut into that hill a little bit? I don't know if it's possible, but
So if
it's
we
another
have to
access.
stay, well, that would be something we could look into with a plan in hand, and we could look into, sure, absolutely, we could look into that, as long as we have to stay off of the Mills property.
No, I understand that, and that's not the Mills property, so.
Right, I have to figure out where the line is, yeah, it's something we could absolutely look into. So behind where the porta potties were, off to the, like onto the soccer field?
So if this is the parking lot, porta potties in the back here, there's that fence and the playground and stuff. If you cut into the hill to do more parking spaces, maybe you could have a little entryway into that way.
I think he means adjacent to 155, adjacent to North River Road going north up in.
So the existing single porta potty or day of the fair porta potties?
Single porta potty.
Okay, so that is something we could look into, but that has the cellar hole, we'll have to, sure, we can look
No,
into
no,
that.
not the cellar hole. No, you're in the parking lot already. No new entrance off 155.
So I'm in the parking lot and I'm gonna go through the gate, I'm like,
Okay,
watch the year.
Would that help?
It's not you, it's me.
no, it's me.
It's
It's not you, it's me. So like, where the heck are we?
No, you're right.
Yeah, I'm right.
Well, you see the base trail.
You're right.
So right through here, is there a way to put a drive like right through there?
Oh, I see, okay, so
So
come
if
around
you're-
behind the,
So if you've got
By the pump
expanded,
house.
yeah, if you've got expanded parking this way, you're gonna cut into the hill anyways. If you had another road there, then people could come in and out that way, not interfere with the people that are here going walking back and forth.
show it to my coworker. What are you thinking? If I do that again? I mean, it's definitely doable, he's from a police standpoint.
Were you thinking now?
So like
This
right
is our
through,
entrance now.
yeah, this is our entrance, so there's the parking lot. If you're gonna cut into there to do more parking
Yeah,
spaces,
so
you
it's
can have a road that
far
comes in
end,
here.
the
and
town
latches
hall
up
side of
there.
the parking lot, up and
That'd
around
be
that
great,
way.
actually.
Yep, we
Then
should look into
people
that.
could come in and out and still avoid all the foot
One
traffic.
entrance, yep,
Yes,
Yeah,
so.
a perimeter road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
kind of, the thing that Chief and I talked about is in terms of if there's an event there, there's only one way to get out.
Right.
So that's why I tried to see if we could do it this way. But that gives us two ways to get out,
Yeah.
if you had to.
That's good, I like that.
And the need, and I understand what you're saying in terms of, once you're in, you don't get out.
Yep.
Some people have to get out, and maybe more than two people. Like Steve, I saw him going back and forth at least
Right.
5 or 6 times.
okay, well, that was
I know
more
people
planning
go
on
up to
our.
the Grange to get
my
food,
part.
so.
It's a French fry emergency.
Yeah, I mean, come on. it's
Sorry,
very-
what'd you say? Oh my goodness.
Would the board give us permission to explore that and exploring the parking lot? Expanding the parking lot?
I'm all for it. In fact, it kind of morphed into the discussion about the road. I was gonna ask the two chiefs about, do they have a plan if there ever was some mass action while the fair was going on or some other activity?
Yeah, it's all hands on deck, and it would be clearing that road that comes in by the pavilion. And that'd be it. That would be our plan.
Thank you, Julie.
Because I often thought that sometimes you can have, if you can't put a real permanent road in, an access road, you can put a gravel road with a gate that's breakable.
I mean, if
For
it's that,
emergency, just bust right through it.
depending on how severe the person's injury is, you may medevac them right from there. Because you could land a helicopter right there. So I guess it would be a fluid thing depending on what the emergency is. But yeah, we would just have to get everybody out of the way and
Is the baseball field large enough for a helicopter to land in emergency? So we don't ever
Yes.
use that, so that, and I think that's maybe something.
That's where the
we can
Ferris
ask the
wheel's
two
gonna go.
chiefs. I don't know if you have a plan, a contingency plan for some emergency at Little River Park
Plan
in
for
terms of
Ferris.
getting out, but stuff's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And the thing that I was concerned, and I think I mentioned this last time, is what I saw Saturday morning was an accident waiting to happen.
Without a doubt.
Cars going back and
yeah.
forth,
Terrible.
little kids running around, and I'm not gonna be the one that's gonna be in charge. I don't know about these two, but I assume they would say the same thing, and a little kid gets hit.
well, then compounding the problem are the vehicles that are parked along the right side of the road as you're entering, along the pavilion, and there's a little kid that comes out between the two cars.
Exactly.
That's what we discussed. Something that does need to be done for that.
You know, and I'm guilty too. I leave my car there, shuffle stuff back and forth throughout the day, and it's, you know, that night when it was dark and I was leaving, the chief had the same issue too. You don't see the people all around you. So that's why Rosencrantz Gators are gonna be quite helpful. We can all park our cars and Rosencrantz Gators can see all around you. They're happy to donate them for the day.
Okay.
Well, I'm all for a committee to get together.
So on that committee, I'd like, if it's possible, to appoint a member of the Rec Commission, member of the Conservation Commission, both chiefs, myself, and Julie Glover.
I'm fine.
That's fine.
Let's
And
do
we
it.
cover, and we'll contact Oyster River, but Oyster River doesn't need to be involved.
Well, if anything, get their input in terms of how much space they would need.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the place to start.
Yeah. And I believe you had numbers in terms of the cars that were parked on North River Road.
Rough
During the
estimate,
fair.
yeah.
So-
And it changes hour by hour, but, pretty much stayed right around 50 cars. Which is quite a bit.
Do we have any idea in terms of the people that work there that were parking in the parking lot? Because if
Yeah.
they're parking there, if we could find someone else to park in someplace else for them to get
We
out.
talked about that, pushing everybody around the back of the field and having them leave that there.
Because that would help
And
tremendously.
then, and what we did is we got to hold them accountable. You have to be here, be set up by 9. And if
Done.
you don't need your vehicle, get it out of here. If you're gonna need it later, park it out back. At 5 o'clock, you're done, you're packed up, you're leaving. That way there, we open the road up, we make sure nobody's there. At 5 o'clock, everybody gets out, we're done.
And there's also parking on Berber Drive, and Carla Corey is really nice and offers her field. But this year, we had so much rain beforehand. In the years past, we we even have signs that say fair parking, but this year it was too wet. I didn't want to rut up her
Yeah.
field. She offered it, but I don't want to rut up her field.
So give me an estimate when you're gonna come back and report from the committee.
2 weeks. All right, 4.
All right, yeah, don't get
Sorry, got the evil eye.
Budget season.
You're as much of a taskmaster as we are, though.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a
Sorry,
minute,
Ann.
Derek, you don't mind?
Doesn't have to be you.
I have a question on a different subject. EOC training. It's been a while since we've had some EOC training. I was wondering if we had anything scheduled.
We don't. What would you like to train on?
Well, I just think it would be good if some of us got in the room like we did the last time. We had a EOC drill. Or otherwise, I think they've changed their system. If I remember right, their software system changed, so I'd like to get familiar with that.
My coworkers are letting me sink up here.
Are we whispering for a reason?
I said my coworkers are letting me sink up here. They're not even jumping in.
Coworkers will let them sync up there. I got that.
Boss man, did they change your system?
They
We'll look into that,
They
sir.
changed their software system just about right after we had our last EOC meeting, which was a long time ago.
We'll look into that and set it for training. Web EOC.
If it's transparent, but either way, I still think we should have some EOC.
Okay.
Maybe perhaps we can tie it in February when we do our active shooter training at the school.
Thank you.
Open up the EOC and do it all at one time.
I think that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Somebody has my back.
Thought you were gonna say, chief, have the helicopter come down to the ball field and.
We can, or at least get a drone in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
They're on their way.
Yeah, that'll come.
All set? Item number 7, Julie Glover, Town Administrator.
You may remember at the last meeting, we talked about a request to turn the electricity on for a private event Saturday. The board voted not to do that. There are just some logistical and financial things associated with that. But during that conversation, you would ask me to look into, was there some way to have a pay-as-you-go meter down at Little Wood Park? I have not had an opportunity to reach out to either Mr. Banks or an electrician, but I did look. You know, you can buy on Amazon, where else would anybody buy anything? A meter, picture like a meter on more of an old-fashioned washing machine, like where it's a little box and you put your quarter in
You
and
turn the dial.
yeah, you
Oh,
get
yeah.
a certain amount of time. I mean, you can buy one of those for, I don't know, $120 or something. But then we'd have to hire an electrician to hook it up. Somebody would have to collect the quarters. So for an issue that comes up maybe once a year, it just doesn't feel that it's practical to really put any money into it. And there was no pushback when I told the person, we're sorry, but yeah, we're not gonna turn the electricity on. So, I mean, certainly if the demand increases or it somehow becomes a problem, maybe we can look further into it, but just doesn't seem like it's something that we really need to spend money on and then tie ourselves to having to figure out, you know, how to get the quarters out of the machine. So. Are there any questions?
No, that's a dead subject.
Flag Hill dinner contract, I'm not sure where we're at with the
Larry.
count. Do you know how many people signed up this far?
It hasn't moved since the last time. Close to 40?
Okay. So we'll, you know, a couple of times between now and December 5th, send out a reminder. People tend to sign up at the last minute. And we did get the contract amended to make sure that it included the per person rate. So that's now in the contract that we have for signature. So we'll just get that signed when we do the consent agenda
Okay.
items.
And we don't pay tax, right?
Correct. You also have, in speaking of budget season, have in front of you the summary, we'll call it the summary of the budget calendar, which is what we end up posting. We always want to make sure that we get this posted as soon as possible so that we don't run into any issues with the laws relative to how much time we have in order to post meetings and so on and so forth. We developed this system a number of years ago and it seems to work pretty well. You have on the pads in front of you, and then Mr. Bugby has the printed out calendar. I have the printed out calendar, but it makes it easier just to see the dates laid out. As always, January is a very busy month.
Yes.
You know, we took a look at what we had done last year. Just because of where the days landed, we ended up with our first budget hearing the end of December rather than in January, just to make sure that we could fit everything. So, are there any questions about it?
Is there supposed to be an October and December, February?
You told it to do both sides and it didn't listen.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay,
You got it?
don't do that to me.
So the first, for the benefit of the audience that they don't know, the first joint ABC Select Board budget meeting is this Thursday at 7 o'clock.
When?
This Thursday at 7 o'clock.
And who's first on the block?
It is the police department and the library.
Oh, there we go.
So as I mentioned in an email earlier today, you know, we're working on collecting the budget still and then inputting them into Tyler, and then we'll produce an entire budget, and then we'll put the notebooks together. So we'll have all that ready for the meeting on Thursday.
I'm sorry, what was the time again?
7.
So,
Karen, you're all set, all the planning board stuff, so I'm not gonna get in a binder?
No, I just,
No.
they already moved him around because you planned for it last week.
Any questions,
I'm good.
any concerns? Okay, so this will be the schedule that we'll publish
Mhm.
if something comes along that we're not expecting.
I just have the calendar in it.
I think we should get to keep these.
Oh, is this what's going on?
Send them back. Anything else?
Nope, that's everything.
Item number 8, motion, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Is it really just one? No, just signature? You. Signature on the flag, that is just kind of on the last page, there's not really a line for it.
Is this all of us on Flag Hill or just me?
Just one.
Just pass those down, don't have to send it out.
Loading you up the way.
What'd you do, sit on them?
I'm just passing them through. Nice cards, huh? Very nice.
I guess that's for the,
Who paid for those, John?
It's extra.
Well, I know I'm paying for them, you and everybody else. Gorgeous cards.
You don't usually hang around, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, well, I wait till you go into non-public.
Oh, then you leave.
That was it. If something else comes up and you need me, I'm here. If not,
Okay.
It's always appreciated to have an audience. Yeah, absolutely.
I sent an email this morning about the swearing in.
Yes.
I think I can do it, I have.
Have to look into that 11 o'clock on Wednesday.
Oh, and, Mr. Tappan, could you tell me the balance on the land acquisition trust fund, please?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan was caught off guard at the last meeting because we didn't have any balance, so he specifically brought it, so I figured I need to ask him just so.
Just a,
Land acquisition, $238,231.32
some cash in there.
as of the end of August.
Thank you, Mr. Tappan.
I got that straight.
All right. I move to enter non-public session, New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Brown? A, yay, nay, aye, yes.
nay,
Mr. LaCourse?
Yes.
Mr. Bugby, yes. All right, item number 9, miscellaneous unfinished business. Anybody have anything? ABC meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Motion.
Nope. Nope.
Nope,
No
okay.
ceiling. Nope, no ceiling. What else was there? Something else. Oh, this.
To our collection.
The Heritage Commission submitted the application for the parish house for the State Register of Historic Places last week. They meet to Wednesday, so we should know at some point next month or so if that's been approved or not.
That's a what?
If that's been approved or not.
Okay.
I think there's something else I was going to tell you. Oh, we did our first barn presentation sign.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did a second one yesterday. We've got 2 more coming, one for the old town farm, the Griswold residence, and one for the Randall barn in North Lake.
Oh, good. That'll be nice. That's a nice plaque.
But they're gonna put in.
I haven't seen it.
What, the Randall barn?
Oh, look at the hobo shape. It's nice. This
Yeah.
plaque out there. It looks nice.
Yeah, well, these are green.
Yeah.
They're not blue. These are green.
Great.
Yeah.
But that, because you've been after us about that, so.
Yeah.
And we're looking on the other barns, some of them, they're not responsive in terms of getting back to us, so. That was the other thing I just wanted to mention, that was it. Anything else? No. Move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.